A classic Star Wars symbol of justice returns. A member of the skeleton crew finally shines, and we heard from a Star Wars legend. It was another fun week in Star Wars, but who or what is at the top of the Star Wars world? Hello, you scoundrels. I'm Napzok, the Mantel mix of Star Wars snacks, and it's time for your weekly Star Wars Power Rankings. This is ForceCenter, a show about Star Wars, pop culture, and the ultimate adventure, life itself, featuring the insights of Joseph Scrimshaw, Jen Landa, and myself, Skippy McDoo. Subscribe now to join our celebration of the greatest saga ever told. To the rankings we go. Number 3, Xwings. Now let's start with an honest truth. As long as I've been talking about Star Wars in the public, I have been known as a Y-Wing guy. I'm Team Y-Wing to my core. I love those steady workhorses of the Rebel fleet. They're not flashy, don't win any beauty contests, and are as slow as Banthas running backward in the snow. But they do the heavy lifting while the fancy, sleek, and okay, I'll admit it, sexy X-Wings get all the headlines. But that aside, I was thrilled to see the X-Wings show up in Episode 6 of the Skeleton Crew. Now, yes, I know, they did show up previously and seem connected to everyone's favorite talking owl this side of Blathers, Kim, a connection that just might play out even more in the final 2 episodes, but their use in Episode 6 was of great thematic importance. They were symbols of what is good in Star Wars, and key to the development of Wim, who has struggled with seeing what and who is truly good in this galaxy. And the X-Wings deserve their place on that list of timeless Star Wars symbols. There are many great space fighter designs in the sci-fi fantasy world, past, present, and certainly future, even just in Star Wars alone. The N1 Starfighter jumps to mind, of course, though I still think that Din Djarin needs to get himself another space Volkswagen van to replace the Razor Crest. Grogu needs some space to grow, and I like the idea of an onboard refresher. The N1 Starfighter only has room for a P-jar, and I don't want Din to face the dilemma many of my fellow SoCal citizens have to face when you're stuck on the 405 freeway at rush hour. But I digress. There's also the Viper fighters from Battlestar Galactica, timeless designs that worked whether Katie Sackhoff was leading us back to Earth or Dirk Benedict was being grumpy at a fan convention. But the X-Wing remains a high standard for any space fighter designed after 1977 and far exceeded any ship designed prior to Colin Cantwell sketching out what would be one of his most famous creations. And it was wonderful to see the X-Wing through the eyes of a character in Star Wars. Han, Chewie, and Finn were in the same situation on Takodana, but they knew what X-Wings were. Wim was reacting with the same sense of gleeful discovery that a kid opening up a gift on Christmas morning in the 70s or 80s had when they unwrapped an X-Wing, or even the battle damage X-Wing. Get those stickers on right, kids, and your space toy had a story to tell. X-Wings are one of the most iconic images in Star Wars. Thanks to Wim and the Skeleton Crew, we all got to feel that once more. Number 2, KB. One of the most consistently posed questions through the first 5 episodes of the Skeleton Crew was, when will we get a little bit more from KB? Less of a critique and more of a desire to learn about a beloved character, the question had a big answer this week. Zero Friends Again was a collective lesson in communication, listening, and togetherness and teamwork based on what we all bring to the table as individuals. But its focus was on KB, and it was an important one. Many out there connected powerfully with her story this week. They found themselves seen and maybe even understood in a way not previously experienced in Star Wars or even modern media as a whole. Those are their stories to tell and not mine to sell as my own, but it was wonderful to see. KB, we learned, had some sort of terrible accident, the result of which was her very existence being tied to the various cybernetic augments we've known about since the moment the character popped up in show promotion. Those augments were kind of cool Star Wars-y things that we're used to seeing. We could thank Lobot for that. We can thank Lobot for a lot of things, quite frankly, but that's a story for another time. It would have been enough to have KB be a kid with some space fantasy augments that helped amplify her skills and secure her place in the crew. But this show did with her what it has done so well with every main character. It dug deeper. Those augments were a chance to explore a character that is different, a character that might have to battle certain limitations or approach things in her own way because of who she is. But many around her, even those that care for her, have been seeing her as what she is. And they've accepted her as what she is. In fact, in the case of Fern, they've refused to see her as different. And that's good. That's a good trait. But KB deserves to be seen for who she is. Different isn't abnormal. Different is just your own individual normal. Fern and everyone around her have needed to slow down and listen to KB. They've needed to see her and see what she can do, what she can bring to the team. They've needed to know her true self. And KB was finally heard this week, which I do believe was quite intentional. When she finally stands firm and speaks up, it's a little more impactful because we've wanted this moment for her for about 5 episodes. In one of the more powerful moments in recent Star Wars storytelling, she found herself on the brink of a full system shutdown, and in that moment, Wim was able to provide her exactly what she needed. not what he or others thought she needed. And now the skills she can bring to the team are hers and hers alone. So hey, yeah, that's right. KB isn't different. She's unique. We all are. Thanks, KB. Number 1, Jake Lloyd. On New Year's Day, consummate journalist, author, and fellow Oxford comma enthusiast Clayton Sandell launched his new Substack in a grand fashion by dropping an update on Jake Lloyd from Jake Lloyd himself. Check it out. It was a great, encouraging read. There is a lot to the life story of Jake Lloyd. Clayton's interview goes into the bigger picture, and Jake himself addresses some of the more discussed and documented, often unfairly and incorrectly, issues and struggles. But the interview is about victory and the continued march toward a better tomorrow. Jake Lloyd is, all things considered, doing pretty good. He's doing better, and that's wonderful to hear. Jake Lloyd has an important place in the Star Wars story, and this week, the Star Wars fandom was reminded of his position in the greatest saga ever told. They got to celebrate it again. They got to celebrate him. Jake's Anakin Skywalker was the first hero many Star Wars fans got to see themselves in. What young Anakin's eyes saw was their first view of the entire galaxy, and his performance contained some of the many building blocks future portrayals of Anakin would be built on. I enjoy the yippies, wizards, and now this is pod racing lines. They're pulp fun, but Jake's Anakin staring down the Jedi Council with a furrowed, indignant brow while he stands in front of them feeling literally cold as opposed to figuratively warm and accepted is one of the most important story beats for the man that would one day become Vader, and a warning to the tightly wound Jedi Order. It's one of my favorite Anakin moments. And so are the moments in which Jake Lloyd exhibited the very good inside Anakin that Padme told Obi-Wan was there and Luke one day sought out. The redemption of Vader began at that dinner table on Tatooine, and Jake Lloyd brought that to the performance. I hope that one day, if Jake is up to it, that if he even wants it, he can step out on stage and feel the unbridled love from an entire convention hall of fans. I know he's attended some before, but Star Wars Celebration and even D23 are bigger now. And I'd love for him to get the pop from the crowd like Ahmed Best did in Chicago, or Ewan McGregor did when coming back to announce he's returning as Obi-Wan, or Hayden Christensen got in Orlando, or even more in Anaheim 2022. And for the record, I hope Natalie Portman gets that one day too. I hope Jake can one day walk out in front of us and feel the gratitude. But that's what I want. This is about what Jake needs. What's the next chapter in the story of this Star Wars legend? It's his to write. And Clayton Sandell let us all know this week, Jake Lloyd's story is just beginning. Thanks, Jake. Xwings, KB and Jake Lloyd, number 3, 2, and 1 in this week's Star Wars Power Rankings. I'm Ken Napzok. See you next time here on ForceCenter.